To Franz Kafka and the Metamorphosis, where a poor fellow is turned into a beetle. So what? There is no rational answer to so what. We can take the story apart, find out how the bits fit, how one part will respond to the other. But you have to have in you some cell, some gene, some germ that will vibrate in answer to sensations which you can neither define nor dismiss. Beauty plus pity is the closest we can get to a definition of art. Where there is beauty, there is pity, for the simple reason that beauty must die. Beauty always dies. The manner dies with the matter. The world dies with the individual. Now, in the Metamorphosis, there is a central figure endowed with a certain amount of human pathos among grotesque and heartless characters, figures of fun or figures of horror, asses parading as zebras, or hybrids between rabbits and rats. Franz Kafka's private nightmare was that the central human character belongs to the same private fantastic world as the inhuman characters around him. But pathetically and tragically, he attempts to struggle out of that world into the world of humans and dies in despair. Born in 1883, Franz Kafka came from a German-speaking Jewish family in Prague, Czechoslovakia. He is the greatest German writer of our time. Such poets as Rilke or such novelists as Thomas Mann are dwarves or plaster saints compared to him. He read for law at the German University in Prague, and from 1908 on, he worked as a petty clerk, a small employee in a very Gogolian office for an insurance company. Now, hardly any of his own famous works, such as The Trial or The Castle, were published during his lifetime. His greatest short story, The Metamorphosis, was written in 1915. From 1917 on, the rest of his life, a period of 7 years, was punctuated by sojourn in Central European sanatoriums. The hero of the Metamorphosis is Gregor Samsa, son of middle-class parents in Prague, Flaubertian Philistine, people only interested in the material side of life, vulgarian in their taste. Now, some years before, old Samsa had lost most of his money, whereupon his son, Gregor, took a job with one of his father's creditors and became a traveling salesman in cloth. Then his father suddenly stopped work altogether. His sister Greta was too young to work, and his mother was ill with asthma. So, young Gregor not only supported the whole family, but also found for them the apartment they are now living in. We are in Prague, Central Europe, 1912. Gregor is mostly away traveling, but when the story starts, he's spending a night at home between two business trips, and it is then that the dreadful thing happened. As Gregor Samsa awoke one morning from a troubled dream, he found himself transformed in his bed into a monstrous insect. He was lying on his hard, as it were, armor-plated back, and when he lifted his head a little, he could see his dome-like brown belly divided into corrugated segment, on top of which the bed quilt could hardly keep in position and was about to slide off completely. His numerous legs, which were pitifully thin compared to the rest of his bulk, flimmered helplessly before his eyes. What has happened to me? He thought. It was no dream. Gregor's eyes turned next to the window. One could hear raindrops beating on the tin of the windowsill's outer edge, and the dull weather made him feel quite melancholy. What about sleeping a little longer and forgetting all this nonsense, he thought. But it could not be done, for he was accustomed to sleep on his right side, and in his present condition he could not turn himself over. However violently he tried to hurl himself on his right side, he always swung back to the supine position. He had tried it at least 100 times, shutting his eyes to keep from seeing his wriggly legs, and only desisted when he began to feel in his side a faint, dull ache he had never experienced before.